Before we continue with today's presentation, it's really important that we do an acknowledgement of traditional lands. Royal Roads University acknowledges that the campus is located on the traditional lands of the Esquimalt and Songhees ancestors and families who've lived here for thousands of years. This land has been part of the fabric of the life of Indigenous communities long before Hatley Castle was built, and it will be long into the future. It is with gratitude that we now learn and work here, where the past, present, and future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, faculty, and staff come together. Today's agenda. So get to know one another. I actually have a quick poll prepared for everybody. So if you're looking at your phone, I suggest looking at the computer for a moment or close down that email. And I'm going to launch the poll, and it's just to get to know you a bit better. So the poll question is, what info are you hoping to learn at today's session? And you can select all that apply, so you don't have to choose just one. So the first is what the BCom program is all about. The second is more about the Royal Roads student experience, including residencies, if it's the right program for me. Find out more info about the admission requirements, learn more about the application process, intensity and expectations of the program, not sure yet. And my favorite, wait, I'm in the wrong Zoom room. I thought this was a virtual concert. So you can select any and all that apply to you. And I'll give it about 10 more seconds here, just in case you're really thinking about it.
While we're doing that, what I find interesting is just all the different places people are joining us from. So as far away as Iran and Jamaica, and then across the country.
That's wonderful to see. So I guess I should say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Exactly.
Great. So I'm going to end the polling now. And it sounds like all across the chart, we have people who are interested in all of those things. So that is great, because we're going to be covering off all of those different topics. There's a few ties, so and nobody thought they were in a virtual concert. Oh, okay, that's a good thing. All right, I'll end the polling and we'll keep going. There's the results shared, just if you want to have a peek. Okay, and we're also going to do an overview of the Royal Roads experience, more about the Royal Roads BCom program. We have a question answer with Rhonda Webster, our current BCom student here, admissions and application, and we're accepting questions throughout. So if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. We'll address them at the end, but if they come up during, just pop them in the chat. We have our enrollment advisors also on the line, so they'll be there to answer those questions. Okay, a bit more about Royal Roads and Royal Roads values. At Royal Roads, it's really important to us the first names first. We get to know people's first name quickly because it matters to us. We understand that every single person's journey is very unique and personal. And we believe in learning together forever. So that idea that cohort model, and that your cohort is your network, and that you'll stay together learning forever. And that life is also an education. So we take real world experience, and we'll get more into that in our flexible admission policy, because we do believe that life is an education and you learn a lot out there. And that the idea of the real world is a classroom. So there's not that division between theory and practice and the world out there in the classroom. It's all integrated. It's all connected. And we're also a change maker campus. So Royal Roads University is recognized as being a leader in change and social innovation, a global network of over 40 universities and colleges committed to advancing social innovation and change making. And we're located in Victoria, BC, which is in Canada. And we're on Vancouver Island, which has a population of about 750,000 people. And we're located in the Greater Victoria area. The closest largest cities are Vancouver and Seattle. The top 3 industries in Victoria are advanced technology, tourism and hospitality, and education. And we have a pretty mild climate. You can go for a hike or a bike ride almost any day of the year here. And here where we're located, we're really close to beaches. And the next slide, I'll show you a few images from our campus. So the top left is Hatley Castle. please give me a thumbs up or a party emoji if you recognize Hatley Castle from any movies such as X-Men or Deadpool. Yeah, so, and if you don't recognize it, I highly suggest watching those movies later today and see if you can locate the castle. So the top right is a Esquimalt Lagoon, and you can actually see a Esquimalt Lagoon located just looking out from beyond the castle. So it's just right on campus. And then the bottom left is Charlie's Trail, which is one of my personal favorite places to go for a lunchtime walk on campus. And here at Royal Roads University, we've been teaching and learning online for over 25 years. Wonderful. Well, I am so thrilled to welcome Ross Porter to take over the rest of this part of the session.
Thanks, Mary, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I appreciate your interest in the BCom program. So we'll get into what's the BCom about, what kinds of experiences you can expect, and then we'll have a conversation with our current student, Rhonda Webster. So I like to say that the BCom is different by design, and there's a few things that differentiate this BCom from other undergraduate business programs across the country. One is that we're a degree completion program, so we offer years 3 and 4 only, with the expectation that students are coming in with the equivalent of years 1 and 2, or a combination of education and work and life experience to make up for those years 1 and 2. We offer a blended delivery model, so that's a combination of online learning, and we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like, as well as in-person residencies. Very diverse demographic of people that come into this particular program. So the age range goes anywhere from mid-20s to mid-50s, which is not what you would typically experience in an undergraduate business program at another university in the country, where the average age would be mostly in the early 20s with limited work experience. So we have a broad range of backgrounds, levels of work experience in education. And I think that actually that diversity adds a tremendous amount of richness to the class experience. But there's a common theme that usually drives people back to university and to this particular program, and it's people that are seeking more opportunity, to have more influence, to have more impact in their work life. These are people that want to break free of the status quo. The status quo simply isn't good enough. They want to mix it up. They want to progress or advance in their current career. They want to shift career gears or direction. They maybe want to go their own way and to start something on their own. And the other thing that differentiates this program is its entrepreneurial focus. And I'll talk a little bit about what that actually means, because it might be different than what you might expect. So I like to say that the program also is a good balance between relevance in terms of real world application and worldview, as well as the academic rigor. So understanding both theory and practice and bringing those two together in an integrated fashion. So it's not simply about just knowing more, accumulating more information and thinking that that is success and that's actually what the market's going to need. No, it's also about learning actually how to apply what that is that you are acquiring in terms of new knowledge and insight. So we try to emphasize applied and experiential learning in each and every course in the program. You will be engaged with industry experienced faculty. Every member of the faculty has real world experience in the field in which they are teaching. And there's a balance between individual learning, things that you will do on your own as an individual learner, as well as collaborative learning, working with members of your cohort and members of your team. And I'll talk a little bit about that cohort and team-based model. The idea is that you are accumulating, you're building your level of competence in terms of understanding and application of the material and the subjects that you're being exposed to, and ideally growing in your sense of confidence. The confidence that you can get out there and actually apply that which you are being exposed to in the program. And to me, you know, a great model of success for a learner at the end of the program is that they now have the confidence and the inclination to go forth and to try things that previously they would have been reluctant to do. To me, that's a positive return on investment in your education, because often that's the thing that's been holding people back, that level of confidence. And to the entrepreneurial piece, it is more than thinking about startups and small business. In the next slide, I share some of the attributes of what it means to be thinking entrepreneurially. So what is this entrepreneurial management piece? It's part of the degree title. You can't run away from it. So it's not a generic BCom, it's a BCom in entrepreneurial management. What is this thing that we refer to as entrepreneurial management? Well, it's about thinking differently, innovatively, creatively, adding new and different perspectives to a challenge or a problem that you find before you, whatever work context you find yourself. It's about being resourceful, and it's about being enterprising. It's about somebody who can make do with what they have and can find value in that. They can create something out of limited resources. It's somebody who is interested in driving change and innovation. So entrepreneurial management is about, it's not about the status quo. It's about changing things up so that there is a constant state of improvement. So think about it, if you're oriented towards being a change maker and an innovator, it's about turning ideas into action, into actualization. So it's not just coming up with bright ideas, it's actually having the wherewithal, the inclination, the ability to turn those ideas into something lived and experienced. As I said, it's about creating value. Entrepreneurial management is about value creation in whatever format that you might find yourself seeking to create value. Again, any work context, you need people who can think differently, that are problem solvers, that are value creators, and people that are interested in making an impact. And an example is in that photo on the slide. You know, here's somebody who needed a drinking vessel, and they cut a bottle in half and turned it into a wine goblet. So it's that kind of approach to thinking, seeing a challenge or an opportunity before you and creating something. So in terms of the delivery model, so as I said, it's years 3 and 4, so it is a 2-year program, but we accomplish in 2 years what other programs might take 3 or 4 to do. So it's intentionally designed to facilitate learning, part-time education, while most people are working throughout the program. So I say it's part-time, but it is full-on. It is a significant commitment. It's 2 very full years. But we've had 3,000 graduates, most of which have done the blended delivery model. And Rhonda will talk about her experience as well, having a very full life and how being a student, what that looks like. And throughout the program, you're typically taking 1 to 2 courses at a time. And in the next slide, I'll show you a visual of what the program looks like. I think the key thing is that this is not correspondence education. So depending on what your perspective of what it means to do distance or online education, this is not about just getting a bunch of material and studying on your own and submitting some things to a nameless, faceless faculty member. No, you actually have faculty members that are actively facilitating the learning experience, even in an online format. So there's a combination in any course of some live sessions that you're invited to attend with the faculty member, and then you're also engaged in the learning resources that have been made available to you on your own time and in collaboration with others. In normal times, we have 3 residencies at the beginning, middle, and end of the program. The residencies can last up to 8 days. Previously, we had our first residency going up to 2 weeks. When we were back into the residency mode in 2021, that first residency will now be 8 days. But we have made some significant changes to the 2021 intakes, and I'm going to talk about what that actually looks like for anybody that's interested in coming in during our August intake. What does that first part of the program look like if we're actually not hosting an in-person residency? The key is that this enables you to be learning and working simultaneously, and the great thing about doing that, not removing yourself from the work context, but staying in the work context while you're studying, is you get to actually apply that which you're learning, try things out that you're actually being exposed to in every course into your current work. And then by doing so, growing and learning from that experience and also demonstrating value to those around you. So it's not uncommon for people that are in the BCom program to get advancement and promotions while they're actually in the program because they're demonstrating value by actually applying that which they're learning throughout their 2 years. So what does year 1 look like? So we've redesigned the front end of the program for the intake we just had in March and the next intake that we're having in August. So that first part of the program, which we're now calling Foundations, is 6 weeks long. And it's primarily online, but it's a blend of online learning, so asynchronous learning, things that you're doing on your own, but guided and facilitated by an instructor, as well as some live sessions. And rather than having you show up for the duration of what we would normally have a residency be and be available during the day for live sessions, we've actually changed it up so that we have live sessions now spread throughout the evenings over those 5 weeks of your E&M 300 Foundation Business Skills course. And then a kind of couple of weekends where there'll be weekend intensives. There'll be a Saturday session that you'll have to make yourself available to, and then there's going to be an extended weekend session during that 5 weeks as well, so over 4 days that you would be making yourself available. Our goal is to reduce your time away from work and the other commitments that you're doing, but ensuring that you're set up for success for the remainder of the program. So it's trying to blend what we do in person on campus with also adapting to the realities of studying online, given the current circumstances. So I think that's a great model. We've just applied it recently, and we'll be applying it again for the August intake. But our hope and expectation is that for the March intake of 2022, you'll be welcome to join us for 8 days of an on-campus residency during the Foundation Business Skills course, part of the program. But once you're done the foundations for 6 weeks of the program, then you'll be moving into a series of distance learning terms where you'll be taking 2 courses simultaneously. Every course is 9 weeks long, 8 weeks of active interaction with your classmates and your instructor, and then the 9th week for any final deliverables. And so you'll be taking 10 courses through that modality for your first year. Before you would then be coming back to Royal Roads for your second residency. So we'll show you what year 2 looks like. So as I said, year 2 will start off with your second residency, in which your entrepreneurship course concludes. And then the remainder of that residency experience is you'll be doing what we refer to as an applied business challenge, where you'll be applying design thinking, creative problem solving tools and techniques to a challenge that has been posed to you by your faculty members. And that takes place over 5 days of your 8-day residency experience. When upon conclusion of that, you'll go back to a series of distance learning terms with, again, taking 2 courses of time. Then you're going to have this unique 1-week applied business challenge that will be facilitated online. Again, another kind of design thinking, creative problem solving experience before you start your capstone project course, which is the kind of culmination of all the learning in the program, where you actually come up with a business plan for an idea that you are posing to start yourself, or maybe it's something you would be doing for an employer or for a client organization. And then that concludes the program, and we have a residency experience as part of that capstone course at the end of the program, where you'll be taking some workshops. You'll be presenting your capstone business idea to a panel and getting some feedback, and then you'll be concluding your final written deliverable as a result of that. So that's what the years 1 and 2 look like in a nutshell. So things that I think are really important to be thinking about as you ponder the BCom is asking yourself, what is it that's drawing me back to consider further education, whether it be at Royal Roads or elsewhere? What is it about further education, higher education, that is attractive to you, that you're hoping, what are you hoping that it will do for you? So why now? What are you seeking to do, become, or accomplish that you believe that further education could be an accelerator to? And why the BCom in Entrepreneurial Management? What is it about this program, as you understand or are starting to understand it, that resonates with you, that you say, this seems like it's going to be a great fit for me? And why you? What things could you believe you can contribute to the learning experience for the benefit of others? Because we really strongly believe that it's not simply unidirectional learning and education between instructor and student, but amongst the members of the cohort as well. So it's something to say, what can I bring to class discussion? What is it in my background and experience that I think I have to offer that would be a benefit to other people? Some other things to be considering as you think about coming back to school and the fit for this program. I find that people that do well, that get some positive return out of investment in their time with us, are people that really are seeking learning, not simply validation. It's not about the piece of paper. That matters, but only to a point. It's about what they get exposed to, how they learn and they grow during those 2 years that become the real critical determinants of success. So there's a sense of hunger, there's an openness, there's a curiosity, there's a desire to learn and grow and improve oneself. That people want to work and study simultaneously. So they see the value of learning and working, and how those things in tandem actually is a really powerful mechanism for personal and professional development. They see the value in learning with and from others, not just, as I said, between instructor and student. They're interested in developing themselves as a person and as a professional, not simply accumulating more information. The information accumulation, knowledge exposure is an important part of it, but it's only part of the learning and growth that you'll be exposed to. So it's people that actually see value in personal and professional development. Things that actually happen both within inside the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. And maybe you want to use the time over your time with us in the BCom program as a personal or professional incubator or accelerator. Maybe there's something about self or an idea that you have that you want to kind of percolate on and develop and test and prototype over those 2 years that you're with the program. So any one of those things are I think, important things to be considering as you think about coming back to university and into the BCom program. Now with that, let's talk to a current student and hear about their story and what their experience in the program has been so far.
Listening to you, it was incredible, Ross, that's for sure, because everything you've said, it hits well on. And this program is not for the faint of heart. It is definitely for those who really are looking for that next step in not just their career, but their life, and what that means to you personally and professionally moving forward.
Well, everybody meet Rhonda Webster. Rhonda is started in the program in August/September this past year. So she's about a third of the way through her BCom experience. And so Rhonda, talk to me a little bit about why you decided to come back to university, and why did you consider Royal Roads and the BCom program specifically?
Yeah, I decided to come back because I knew that I had more to offer, and I knew I had more to learn, and I wanted to do better personally when it came to business knowledge. I have to say it's always been an interest of mine. And so I started to think about what that would look like. And I had several years of university experience already. I could go back and to my local university, but it would have meant the current business that I have operating, that I have my own, I'm self-employed, I would have really had to have let go of that. And I didn't see the value in that because I love what I do. And I was wanting to get better at what I do. And I offer more to my clients. So to give that up seemed contradictory. And so I started to do some research. There are a few other places I looked at for online learning, and I had experienced their online platform in the past. I kept coming back to Royal Roads. I can't tell you, I don't know why. I read about it, it read well. Tracy kept saying, we've got these webinars coming. Why don't you come and to one of our webinars and just see if it's for you? Oh, I didn't have the time. And then one night in May of this time last year, I just thought, I've been sitting on it so long, thinking and not doing. And I felt it was time to put some action into what I wanted to do. And that night I got my references, pulled together my letter, and I just hit submit and decided that if I was serious about taking that next step, this was going to be the platform, because it had entrepreneurial management. And I believe that all people have the potential to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't have to mean you own your own business. Right. And Royal Roads spoke to me highly about that they are more interested in developing the person, not so much just making you a business person.
That's right.
Yeah, and I've experienced that with all of the courses, which I'm happy to speak to if that's the route we go. But
good. Now, what about, so you said, okay, I got to act on this intent or this desire that you've been sitting on for a while with that goal of improving yourself so you could add more value to your business and to your clients, and you felt that you could benefit from further education. What concerns or what was on your mind as you were thinking about coming back to school, given that you have a busy life, and what were you thinking about how to reconcile all of those pieces? Oh, looks like we may have lost our connection with Rhonda.
It does look like she fell out of the call here, but I'm sure her internet is just a little bit spotty. So
yeah, I'm sure she'll just jump back at us. But why don't we take a moment right now while Rhonda has an opportunity to log back in, and we can carry on our conversation with her. If there's anything that I've shared thus far where Rhonda has spoken to that you want to ask a question about, or you want to know more about, let's take a few moments to do that. So anything that I've shared thus far about the BCom that you want to know more about, I will just say that the piece that Rhonda just talked about, I would say the vast majority of people coming to the program are not thinking that they are a prototypical entrepreneur or seeking to become the prototypical entrepreneur, either self-employed, doing a startup of some sort. The key that I want all prospects and current students to embrace is this idea of entrepreneurial thinking and behavior. The idea that you can express an entrepreneurial worldview and orientation to your work, regardless of your work context, which will set you up to add value and to contribute in ways that will really separate you from others. And I think that that's the important piece, is this idea, and that's why I emphasize the attributes that I did before in terms of creative thinking and resourcefulness, and the idea of somebody who's motivated to change and improve things and innovate. The status quo is not satisfactory. Good enough is not good enough. You're always thinking about how to do things different and better. And if you have that orientation around yourself or around your work and see the value of actually cultivating that and growing that, then I think this program might be a good fit for you. So it's less about how you express it in terms of what model of entrepreneurialism you ultimately express, but it's that desire to cultivate that skill set, that competence, because you see that it's actually going to be incredibly valuable to you and the world around you. But questions, comments on anything that I've shared thus far?
I'm keeping an eye on the chat here as well to see if any questions come in.
Don't be shy. This is kind of what it would be like during a live session with an instructor. So I'll be asking questions and looking for some feedback and some engagement and some dialogue, because I'm sure that there's some things that are on your mind, and if they're on your mind, they're probably on somebody else's mind as well. We will get to the admission requirements, Bernadette, so that's got to be in the next section. So I'll just wait on that before we get into that piece. And there is no cost of residence per se. Jamie, it's part of, there is obviously a cost of traveling to Victoria and setting yourself up either on campus or off campus, but there isn't an additional charge for residency. It's built into your tuition.
Well, what we can do right now is we can kind of jump forward a
Sure.
little bit, talk about how to apply, and then when Rhonda comes in, we'll just jump back and ask questions.
We will iterate, we'll be flexible, we'll be adaptive. These are entrepreneurial qualities, folks.
You know what?
I see Rhonda has joined the waiting room. Yeah.
Just popped into the waiting room, so we're going to let her back in here. Well, that was good timing. Welcome, Rhonda. Are you back in the room here? I know she might have logged in with this different device, so it might be taking a moment here to work.
And the question in the meantime was asked about residency costs. So yes, I mean, travel and accommodation costs associated with residency and food that you'd be consuming, that's all on the learner. But there are not additional costs of residency, because your residency actually is a course, and it's the portion of that course that's actually occurring in residency. So it's covered by tuition.
I think I'm back.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry,
Welcome
that's
back.
what happens when you're in the mountains. I am on a different device. So.
Okay, it's all good. Yeah. Okay, so we talked a little bit. So when we lost connection, the question I had for you was like, what was top of mind, or a care or consideration or a question that you had on your mind as you thought about coming back to school? So you had the motivation to come back, but you're a busy person. I imagine things about like how much space you needed to create in your life, the prospect of taking on yet another commitment. Like, what was on your mind as you thought about coming back to school?
Yeah, a lot of that, how to juggle still being, managing my business, still being a parent, an active parent, still being involved in my community. How on earth was I going to do all of this? And there's still some days where I wonder how on earth I'm still going to do all of this, to be quite frank. But I guess it's what's of value, what's important. And that was the main consideration. And the other thing too was, I had no idea what it was going to look like coming back to university as an adult student, and what I would possibly have to offer academically. I knew I had some street smarts when it came to, business and whatnot, but it was the academic part that I thought, I don't know if I'm cut out for it, but I was willing to give it a good try.
Okay, so that's a great lead into the next question. So talk about your experience thus far. What have you found, particularly maybe some of the challenges you've encountered in reference to what you just spoke to, and what you have found the most rewarding aspects?
The most challenging is also the most rewarding. It's a lot of work. And so, you have to really carve out time for yourself. And for me, that was difficult because I remember the first online residency we had, I had expressed to the group, we had like a heart-to-heart conversation one night during a virtual wine. And I was just saying, like, I feel so guilty being here because I'm taking away time from my family. I'm now so committed outside of what I usually do with just my clients. I just thought I had put myself first, and that wasn't the right thing. And one of my classmates said, but what you're doing benefits everybody anyway, and you must be a good role model for your kids. And I hadn't thought about that aspect, but I guess that kind of helped propel me. So that was a challenge in understanding it was okay to have that time for myself. The other challenge for me was working with teams. This is not a course where you're reading a book and you're filling out modules and you're submitting in a finished test at the end of every week or whatnot. It's not like that. You are working with your cohort, you are working with your team, so you're 100% engaged with real live people all the time. And that was hard for me because I tend to work more in a quiet, kind of isolated feeling. But that challenge has been so rewarding for me because learning isn't just about what you read, from our textbooks or what we hear from our instructors. It's what we learn from each other. And it's been phenomenal.
What do you think then, given your experience thus far, the things that have met expectations, the things that you've had to learn to do differently, things you've had to hold on tight, maybe in some more loosely, maybe attitudinally, behaviorally, whatever the case may be, what do you think it takes to benefit from the program? So if you think about the benefits that you've already received, what do you think are critical that prospects need to be thinking about and say, in order for me to get some value out of my BCom experience, what do they need to be prepared to grab onto or maybe let go of?
Let go of not thinking you're not good enough to be here, that you didn't deserve to be here, that you got a special in. Let go of thinking that you're just taking this course to validate how smart you are, because as soon as you start learning everything in here, you're going to realize that you absolutely know nothing, this is like a blank slate. You're going, if you allow yourself to be filled with knowledge, information, empathy of other people's experiences as well, if you allow yourself to take all of your ideas and what you thought was absolutely the best thing and pivot from that and redesign yourself and rethink, you will get everything out of this program and then some.
So let's talk about, what have you received thus far? What are you taking from the experience that you say it's made the commitment worth it? The sacrifice has been worth it.
Work-wise, you talked about promotions. I mean, the only way I'm getting a promotion is if I give myself one. So I did. And having said that, my client base has increased. I just think of the clients that I'm attracting now are more, it's exactly what I wanted already. And I'm only a third of the way in, because word of mouth is now stating that I'm listening. I know I'm listening more and I'm understanding more about the needs, not of the business, because I know I have business savvy, but it's about the people behind the operation. And I'm able to open up more and learn from other people, my own clients, and be able to guide them, because that's really all I am, is a guide for them. But I have better tools, better information, access to information, and confidence in that. I know I don't know everything, but that's okay, because I can still be of value, and I know where to get information if I don't have it. I know how to work with people better now.
You know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know an employer, a business partner, an investor, whatever your context, you find yourself in, that people don't want more people who can step into the void and just figure it out. Yeah, without a rule book. And I'm hoping that what people get out of the BCom is the skill and competence to be able to step into the void, the white space, and figure it out. That's what every person that I speak to, that's what they want to see more of in the workplace.
Yeah, critical thinkers, problem solvers, and people who don't go around professing that you have the answer to everything. If you hear that from anybody, you want to run the other way real fast. So, you know, and I think that that's what it is here, is that you learn that confidence about being able to know what you have to offer, and being able to dig deeper, not in finding the solutions within you. Like, that is the wrong way to find a solution, but to find a solution through all your connections and through listening and building that empathy and understanding. And that's already, I mean, I'm looking forward to what the next 15 months have left for me, because I feel I have done a 180.
Wonderful. Knowing what you know now, what do you think prospects, what advice or insights or information, awareness do you think prospects should have in order to make an informed decision?
I think, well, I say just do it. First of all, like, there's no time like now. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because that perfect moment is sitting facing you right now. And your time, don't think about time management. I personally don't believe in that word, but you do need to time structure. So you do need to have some sort of structure in your life that you know you can follow with flexibility, because we all have lives, and life has yet to follow a set path all the time that's very predictable. So be able to live with your life being a little bit unpredictable. Enjoy the discomfort. It will be uncomfortable, but that's where the change happens. I know I've read this before, but I'm experiencing it. So true. There will be some really, really late nights, and there will be some really, really early mornings, and there's going to be a whole lot due all at once, but you will find your essence. Like, you will find that purpose in there. And I would just say, just do it.
I'm sure that people are wondering about, like, what does a typical week look like for Rhonda? So how many hours do you find that you're putting towards your schooling while you've been in the BCom?
Yeah, you know, for me, it's at least 5 hours a day, Monday to Friday. So it's an early morning or a later night. And then 2 nights out of the week are live classes. So that would be part of the 5 hours when I say that. And then you also have your team meetings when you're working on team projects. And when you're working on a project, especially the last week to deadline, it does get to be a bit heavier in your time, just because you're working with other people and things take longer. So in that aspect, you know, if you can give a full Saturday, Sunday towards those projects, it's helpful. But I mean, when I look at my time, at least 20 hours a week is what time-wise I say would be necessary.
And that's what we say, that typical 3-credit course is about 100 hours of learner effort. I mean, it's going to be variable. For some, it'll be less. For some, it'll be more based on your interest or previous experience with the subject area. In a given week, there'll be a different flow or rhythm based on what's due or what activities you're being asked to engage in. But it's a sizable commitment, but things of value do not come easy. They come with hard work and discipline and commitment. And so again, what you're able to accomplish in 4 years while you're working would take much longer, or to your point, in many cases require you to remove yourself from the workplace for a considerable period of time to be able to actually get the same exposure to this education. Okay. Thank you. Any comments, questions for Rhonda from those that are joining us? Is there anything you want to hear from Rhonda?
And we can also, if you're kind of still thinking and letting it percolate through, we can have a question and answer at the end too, because Rhonda's going to stay on at the end, so we can do a question and answer then. Yeah,
maybe before, as we shift over to how do you apply, what are the admission requirements, and what are the timelines looking like? Rhonda, I think people are interested, out of curiosity, what industry or sector do you have a business in?
Finance and accounting.
Finance and accounting. There you go. Well, thank you. And we will continue to invite questions from people throughout the remainder of our time together. Okay, let's move into admissions and application.
Thank you, Rhonda, and thank you, Raj.
I'll try to turn the camera off, but I'm on my phone, so be patient.
It's all good.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so now we're going to move into how to apply. So there's, as mentioned earlier, there are both traditional pathways, which we also refer to as standard admission, and professional pathway, which is what we refer to as flexible admission. So for the BCom program, the standard admission is a minimum of 60 credits that include a minimum of 24 second-year credits. Wow, and a minimum of GPA of B from a recognized post-secondary institution. And if that doesn't make sense right off the bat, like, connect with enrollment for what that might look like for you, because we do really understand that people are coming from a variety of different backgrounds, but this is for the standard admission into the BCom. But as Ross has mentioned before, a lot of people come in through the flexible admission. And we also, for the standard admission, at least 2 years of full-time work experience. And Lisa popped into the chat a link to the admission requirements so that you can read that there as well too. For the professional pathway, the flexible admission, so this is for people that don't meet the standard admission requirements, and you can apply based on a combination of work, professional, and academic experience. And this is assessed case by case. So before you self-select yourself out, or if you're not sure, give it a try, reach out to us, connect, because it is case by case, because as we mentioned earlier, we see everybody's journey as an individual journey, and we'll view it that way. And if you have fewer than 15 post-secondary credits, we normally require at least 7 years of full-time work experience with 3 years at the supervisory, project lead, or management level. So that is for professional pathway.
And to building on what you said, we're finding that the vast majority of BCom applicants now are coming through the flexible admission. So don't self-select, you're out. If you have several years of work experience, we'll talk about how you can unpack and make your case for why you're suitable for the BCom program.
And because today's focus is also on just like your qualifications and how you are potentially more qualified than you may think, we did some sample people essentially that examples of standard admission and examples of flexible admission, so that you can kind of have a look at the type of people that are applying and are in or have completed the program. So for example, for standard admission, an individual is accepted into the program with a 2-year diploma from a local college, 60 credits, and 2 years of full-time work experience working in retail at a small business. Can anybody in the room relate to this? Give me a thumbs up in the reactions function if you can relate to this, or know somebody who's suitable for the program that has this kind of experience. Or another individual has taken a variety of different courses at university, but never completed their degree, and equaling around 60 credits, and has spent the last 4 years working full-time in banking. So that's another experience. Give me a party emoji if you can relate to that one.
Well, and that's kind of more Rhonda's background. So she came in through standard admission. She said she had taken a number of courses at university over a number of years, didn't complete her degree. She's got more than 4 years of experience, but this is quite common for either standard or flexible admission. People have started education, there may be a break, and then they're coming back to complete.
So we're going to move on to some examples of flexible admission as well. And I should mention again, if you're not sure if you're coming through standard or flexible, connect with enrollment, and you can really ask them those questions. Like so examples of flexible admission. We have an individual that came into the program with experience working in a restaurant for 8 years. They started as a server and then worked their way up to manager, and has been managing staff and restaurant operations for the last 3 years. If anybody in the room relates to this, give me a thumbs up. And another individual has been accepted into the program with 15 years of work experience working in tech with no formalized post-secondary education. I'm going to ask for, I think, a party emoji for this one, if anybody in the room relates to that. And so as you can see already, there are so many different people with so many different backgrounds, and you'll find this in your cohort. People are coming from such a diverse backgrounds and experience levels. And then the last example is a current student who is an Olympic prospect, and they have been a full-time athlete for the last 7 years. So you can see a lot of diversity in the BCom program. So I hope this helps kind of explain the different places that people are coming from and entering the program.
Ellie's asking, is an educational gap important? No, you don't need an educational gap. So people will come in through standard admission having just completed 60 credits or thereabout, or more somewhere else, and then are choosing to complete their degree at Royal Roads. I would say more than less have some sort of gap or a different trajectory of work and educational experience. But it's not a requirement. What is a requirement is having at least 2 years of full-time work experience, and most people exceed that minimum.
Thank you, Ross. So there are also some admission conditions. You may be required to complete one or both of the following courses. So financial accounting and fundamentals, which is a 4-week online course, or academic writing and critical thinking, which is an 8-week online course. And Lisa has popped in the chat a link for more information about that. And if you are taking either of those as a condition, just make sure that you select an offering that ends at least 5 weeks prior to the program start date.
And the asterisk there are a caveat that I wanted to speak to, that for the August intake, there are some, there's another offering of both of those courses. It gets complete within that 5-week window, but it still will make it work. I think the key is that if you're thinking about applying for August and you think you might have a condition attached because you lack, say, accounting or mathematical or numeracy courses in the past, or it's been a long time since you've been at university or lack university experience to demonstrate that you'll be able to do the academic writing and critical thinking that will be required of you, to jump on the next offerings of both of those courses.
And to kind of dive into a bit more of some requirements. So there is a language requirement as well. And English is the primary language of instruction and communication at Royal Roads. So if your primary language is not English, you must meet our language requirements through one of the following 3 ways. So either a submission of an official English language proficiency score. Wow, that's a tongue twister. Graduation from college or university at which English was the primary language of instruction in an English-speaking country, or the completion of a pathway program through the Global Learning and Language Center at Royal Roads. So Lisa can pop in a chat about that if you're interested in more information. And the key dates. So the next intake is August 23rd, 2021, and our application deadline for this is May 23rd, 2021. We also do have an intake in March of 2022. We're still waiting for the details to be finalized for the application deadline, but there is a second intake as well.
We do 2 intakes a year, one in August and one in March. And we'll get more details around the March 22 intake onto the website in the coming days. If you're interested in the March 23rd, you'd be mindful of that deadline. We may extend the deadline, but it's best to apply earlier rather than later, especially if you have conditions attached, then you can satisfy those before the program starts. So if you're thinking about it, start the application process. You don't have to have the application completed by the deadline, but you have had to start the application process.
And for application deadlines, the website is the most accurate place to check them out. So always keep an eye on the website for the upcoming application deadlines. Okay, and now jumping into how to apply. So it is an online application, and you'll be required to create a login with your email, and it costs $126.28 to apply. And we have some supporting documents as well that are required with your application. So the first one is official transcripts. And this is, we ask that you please submit all official transcripts from post-secondary institutions currently or previously attended. And the transcripts are considered official if submitted directly by the registrar or other recognized authority in the institution in an original sealed envelope. As well, a personal statement, a statement of why, like your why. And for this program, we do ask that you answer these questions in your statement of intent. So one of the questions is, what influenced your decision to apply to Royal Roads University, and specifically the BCom program? The other question is, why do you think BCom is the right program for you? In addition, what do you hope to gain from and contribute to the program? And what are your goals and ambitions beyond the program? So these are some of the questions that I think you'll be thinking about anyway while you're looking to apply for the program.
And we want to see a level of intentionality and deliberateness as to why you're coming back to university and why you're choosing the BCom, because it's not a standard type of university program where you can kind of sit in the back of the class, be quite passive, do your own thing. As Rhonda has shared and I've shared, it is a much more fulsome and engaging experience. And we want people to make sure that they've considered that, they're hungry for that, and that's why they're applying.
Yes. And in addition, we also ask for 2 letters of reference. And the preferred letters of reference are from an academic and professional source. And here's a pro tip, write your personal statement first, and then share it with the person that's writing your letter of reference so that they can really get that insight and understanding of why you're applying for this program, and they can support that in their letter of reference. And
I was saying, if it's been a while since you've been at college or university and don't have a relationship with somebody that was an instructor, that's fine. Give us 2 professional letters of reference, and they just got to make sure that you submit them, your reference, submit them directly, and it's not a personal reference, it's a professional reference. Somebody knows you in a professional capacity, and they're identifying the nature of that relationship in their letter, and it comes from them, not through you.
yes. And then the last supporting document is a structured resume, a detailed resume. Oh, I must have forgotten to take annotate off of the slides. So you're right, that is I'm glad somebody circled it. It's an important slide for sure. So for the structured resume, it's more than just like a 2-page job application type resume. We want you to go into detail about your education, your past education, your work experience, international and intercultural experience, training and professional development, volunteer or unpaid work experience, your English language skills, and any professional memberships or affiliations. So it's a detailed.
You're painting a portrait of your personal and professional self for us to be able to get a sense of who you are and determine qualification and fit for the program. So unpack your story.
Yes, and it looks like there's a link in the chat for just more details on this as well, but here's a quick overview of it. So wonder if I can remove that, annotate. Okay, oh, look, I pressed the magic thing and removed it. And no worries for the decoration. I'm all about art and creativity, so no worries about that on the slide. So financial aid, we understand financial aid is a really important part of early educational planning. And we do have financial aid and award specialists that you can reach out to and can answer any questions about the available resources. So I do highly recommend checking out the website. For more information, you could book an appointment with a financial aid and award specialist. And oh, it looks like there's an active blog link as well in the chat, so you can check that out. And Enrollment Services. So if you have any questions about your eligibility or any questions about the program, check out our website as well as reach out to an enrollment advisor. So we have, the first one is if you're a domestic student, that is the contact information there. You can send them an email and set up an appointment. And if you're an international student, you can reach out to the International Enrollment Advisors at that email address in the slides. And next week, we have a virtual open house, which we're very excited about. It's our very first one. So I hope that everyone here can join us. We're going to, the first day, be unpacking more general information about Royal Roads. And then the second day, we're going to be learning, you can learn more about the student experience and financial aid, studying abroad, and any other hot topics or questions that you have. On the third day, we're going to explore Royal Roads program. So we actually have another webinar session for the School of Business on May 12th, and it's just a general overview of the School of Business, and you can learn more about it. That's on May 12th from 2 to 2:45. The schedule is coming soon, but we have registration open on our website. And then on the final day, it's more of kind of a experience our learning in action. So you can meet faculty and School of Business. We're going to have a panel of some more students as well. So you can tune in and hear about their life-changing experiences with the School of Business. So I highly recommend registering. There's a link in the chat, and you can attend the sessions of your choice. So you don't have to attend the whole 4 days. You can just pop it in and out. It's all in the same Zoom room, and I hope to see many of you there. Wonderful. So we're coming to the end of the session, and I wanted to open up the floor for any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
So yeah, so if there's any last questions, things you'd like to know more about before we break, this would be a great opportunity.
And you're welcome to use the chat, or if you want, you can use the raise hand function, and we'll invite you to unmute and you can ask your question verbally.
Anything you'd like to know more about so that you can make the most informed choice you can? Or we just did such a good job of unpacking everything there. All the questions have been satisfied.
I have a question that was submitted in advance before today's session, and the question is this program terminal, or can it be transferred to other schools if I want to go on to do my master's?
Yes, so there are people that certainly go on to further education beyond the BCom. I think the only thing that I would say, depending on what it is that you're looking to do, is understand what the application requirements of the other program is that you want to do, to ensure that depending on how many total credits you're going to have by the time you graduate, whether that will be satisfactory to them. So if you don't come in through standard admission and you graduate as a flexible admission student, you will have gained 60 credits with us. That may be sufficient for the graduate school that you're interested in, but they might also expect the equivalent of years 1 and 2. So you just need to do your own due diligence to make sure that you are fully apprised of what the requirements are. But we've had many people go on to various forms of further education beyond the BCom, including other Royal Roads programs.
Okay, and I have another question that was direct messaged. They want to know just a little bit more on how you're balancing running a business and being productive in the program. So I think that would be a question for Rhonda. So Rhonda, I know you dropped off the call, but I don't know if you're back on. The question is a bit more about how you're balancing running a business and being productive in the program.
How I'm keeping that balanced, a lot of caffeine, really long runs to have my sanity for myself, taking that time, and it is not over committing. So making sure my schedule, that I have structure in my week to week, and that I try to follow that with flexibility and asking for help when I need it.
Thank you.
Those are great tips. Great tips beyond the program. Those are very good advice for time management. So I have one more question in the chat, and then I think we'll wrap up today's session because I know we're going a little bit late. I will be sending out a recording of this to anybody who has to jump off right now. So the last question is, what kinds of things are you looking for in the reference letters? How you show up professionally, etc. Just wanted a little more input on that.
Yeah, so it's somebody that obviously knows you in a professional capacity, somebody you've worked with or for, who could speak to the attributes that you bring and what they believe makes you then, as a result, suitable, qualified, a great applicant for this program. So you might want to, as Amara said, you want to share your letter of intent. You want to make sure that they understand the nature of the program that you're applying for, and then they're speaking on your behalf as to the attributes that you possess that they think make you suitable for this program. So there's not a real recipe to it. The importance is that you have somebody who's vouching for your character and what you bring professionally.
Thank you.
And if it's an academic letter, it's going to be, again, what were you like as a student? You know, diligence and level of achievement, things such as that.
Okay.
Not sure I understand the question that Ellie has posted. Are all of the master's course base is the necessary to connect to professor defined supervisor? So if you're interested in a graduate program, this is not a graduate program. So this is a Bachelor's of Commerce degree versus a master's degree. And there are certain master's programs that have a thesis component to them where you would have essentially a faculty member serving as a supervisor, but that does not apply to the BCom. Our major capstone project is something you undertake on your own, but facilitated by faculty members. We're just about to start a capstone course in a few weeks, and I'll be co-instructing that. And we're there guiding the students through the multi-week journey to get their final deliverable put together, but you don't have supervisors per se.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you to Lisa behind the scenes answering questions, and Andrea. It was great to see everyone today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.